Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with a Cronenberg double review of Crimes of the Future and Infinity Pool. I recently added both of these movies to my collection, and based on the comments under those update videos, it appears that some of you are interested in hearing my thoughts. Crimes of the Future is the most recent film from David Cronenberg, released last year, and Infinity Pool is the most recent film from his son Brandon, released this year. I watched both of them immediately after getting them, and instead of doing an individual review for each, I decided to do a Cronenberg double review. That's mainly because I really can't say too much about either of these movies without spoiling them. I'd say it's best to go into movies from both Cronenberg directors knowing as little as possible. I will share a few thoughts about each though, because I know you guys were interested to hear, and I appreciate that. I was really curious about both of these, because one, I'm a big David Cronenberg fan, for the most part, and two, I absolutely loved Possessor, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, which was released in 2020. I still need to see Brandon's first film, Antiviral. I need to grab that for my collection at some point. Regardless, I was super impressed with Possessor, and with Brandon being the son of David, I expect great things from him, like his father. When I watch Cronenberg films, I find myself looking for things to commend, as if it's the hip thing to do. And I really don't think I'm the only one who does that. Oddly, I think people do that with certain directors, and others they do the opposite, like Rob Zombie. There is so much quality in his movies, yet people only like to point out what they don't like. Well, there is plenty of quality in Cronenberg movies too, but that doesn't mean there aren't flaws. Yes, all movies have flaws, but some people decide whether or not to overlook them depending on the director. Normally, I like to only focus on the positive in my reviews, but I know you guys were genuinely curious, so here are my honest thoughts. I think I might tend to overrate David Cronenberg at times. And sticking with my honest opinion, I think others might as well. Listen, there are David Cronenberg films I love. The Fly remake, The Brood, even Videodrome. Then there are others I'd say I like, or really like. You're probably thinking, well, that doesn't sound bad. It sounds like you're a fan. And I am. But I have a tendency of being more positive than negative. I like to see the good in things, especially horror movies. Sometimes, though, when it comes to Cronenberg, for whatever reason, I think I might expect too much. I'm not going to take all the blame for that, though. There are a lot of people who really seem to put him on a pedestal. The fact that there was so much interest about my thoughts on Crimes of the Future sort of proves that. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. I truly, truly do. Unfortunately, it sort of sent my expectations soaring. And like I said, I already sort of overrate David Cronenberg in my head myself. My point is, I was somehow expecting to be blown away by Crimes of the Future, and I just wasn't. As a longtime fan of Cronenberg, and I know others would agree, it's safe to say his movies are weird. That's fine. I'm a huge fan of David Lynch as well, and he too has some weird movies. Unfortunately, part of me thinks Crimes of the Future was almost too weird. Maybe weird for the sake of being weird, and unnecessarily so. It's not so much the concept. I love the concept. It's original, and that is something I always appreciate about Cronenberg. For me, it was the execution of that original idea that just didn't really work for me. I can say the brilliance of Crimes of the Future is it's more of an art form than a traditional movie. I'm acknowledging that, I understand that, and I certainly appreciate that. Considering the plot of the film, it's fitting. I think the problem is, it's such a cool idea that I wanted to see it explored more. The film introduces the great concept and then just goes into autopilot. I liked it. I did. But I can't say I loved Crimes of the Future at this point. Of course, I will be sure to revisit it, because I always believe in second chances, and third chances, and fourth chances, and more when it comes to films. Sometimes you just need to be in the right mood for certain movies. I'm not gonna punish the film for my own mindsets. Who knows, maybe I'll enjoy it more next time. Despite all of this, I'm not saying I didn't like the movie, because I did. Viggo Mortensen was great. It was interesting seeing Kristen Stewart in a different role for her. There were some extraordinary visuals, as to be expected from Cronenberg, although I do feel some of them were unnecessary. I don't mean that in an offended sort of way. I'm saying there were just some things that were weird for the sake of being weird. For those of you who have seen it, I'm talking about the remote control. Why did it have to look like that? It's not a huge deal, but it just seems a bit, I don't know, overzealous. Like, we get it. Things look different now, but did it have to look that different? Believe me, I'm not trying to be nitpicky. You guys know I hate that sort of thing. For some reason, it just stuck out. I think maybe a lot of fans, including myself, get caught up in the style over substance of certain Cronenberg films, and others. And the thing is, the substance is there. I just wish there was more of a balance between the style and the substance. We do get some good full frontal nudity from 3 different female characters, so that's worth mentioning. And it's worth repeating, this was an original concept, so I absolutely do appreciate that. Regardless, as always, I will recommend you check out Crimes of the Future for yourself. Who knows, maybe you'll love it. I hope you do. I hope I do, upon rewatching it, which I'm sure will be sooner than later. Moving on to Brandon Cronenberg's newest film now, Infinity Pool. Well, I kind of feel the same way. I love the concept in this. Probably even more so than the concept in Crimes of the Future. But again, I don't totally love the execution. It's not as weird as Crimes of the Future, and not as weird as Possessor either. And please, keep in mind, when I say weird, that's not necessarily a negative. Weird isn't always a bad thing. I was loving the first half or so of Infinity Pool, and at times I was even thinking, yup, I like this more than Possessor. But then it doesn't necessarily go in the wrong direction, it just doesn't go in any direction that matters. I feel like there was so much more that could have been done with this, but it just fizzles out. I also have to admit, I am not aboard the Mia Goth hype train. I'm glad a lot of people are loving her. That's cool. I'm just not all in. As a matter of fact, I found her pretty annoying in this. Coincidentally, my mom watched Infinity Pool a few days after I did, and she said the exact same thing. She was annoyed by Mia Goth. There is this scene of her yelling at another character at one point that just made me cringe. I hate to say it, but I probably would have enjoyed the movie more with someone else cast in that role. Although I did appreciate her full frontal nudity, bald beaver galore, she's certainly become an infinity pool of flesh in her film appearances. I absolutely love the masks in Infinity Pool, so I have to give credit there. Compared to Crimes of the Future, Infinity Pool is the scarier of the two. It has an original idea that I think is a bit more terrifying. The location and how that plays a part adds to the terror. I guess the best way to describe Infinity Pool is that it peaked too soon. I got really excited about the concept, only to be a bit let down. I can't say I haven't been thinking about this movie, though, since I watched it. Most likely, I'll be revisiting this one again before I revisit Crimes of the Future. Infinity Pool is full of potential that, unfortunately, in my opinion, wasn't fully captured. But, like Crimes of the Future, I definitely recommend you check it out for yourself. Well, guys, that's it for this Cronenberg double review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you seen Crimes of the Future or Infinity Pool? If so, comment below and let me know what you think of them. I'd love to know your thoughts. And don't forget, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on my channel, the Super Slash Bros return for a Harry Potter live ranking. Please join us in the chat. Until then, though, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind, subscribe.